Let's talk about your need for volunteers and what kind of different volunteer programs you have, and how our community of listeners can help you with the volunteers, and what kind of volunteers skill set you need. And I know they need drivers for sure, but what other volunteer skill set you can use?
Yeah. Well, again, the first, and I mean, the one we do the most of by far is meal delivery. So a volunteer to deliver meals, usually about an hour to an hour and a half of your time, any day of the week. It could be one day, it could be 5 days, it could be, you could do it for a few months. You could, number of different things we do. You could access those opportunities on the website as well. We've started doing a driver program where we're actually asking. Typically, it's an older adult themselves who has a little bit of time on their hands, but to help people get to appointments. So they might pick up Mr. Johnson at his house, take him to his doctor's appointment, and might wait for him for an hour if that's what it takes. If it's a few hours, we might have somebody else come back and pick them up. When I have to use a paid driver and a bus, it's very expensive for a 14-passenger bus to carry one person. So if we could, again, to have volunteers and to do it in vehicles, and it's also a little bit more kind of normal for folks just to ride in a car like that and not draw the attention of a bus. So we'd love to grow the driver program. So if folks are out there and you know of somebody who needs a purpose and something to do and has some free time doing that. From an administrative standpoint, there's people I mentioned before, we had volunteers who are nurses who were able to give the shots for us and volunteered. That was a wonderful help, better than a donation would have been in that scenario. So that was great. We could use, when you're a nonprofit and you're kind of limited in certain skill sets. If folks have marketing backgrounds or if folks have technology backgrounds, they could volunteer to help us in a number of ways, even in administrative capacities. So those are possibilities. We'd like to be able to do more home repairs for seniors. We get some grants periodically. Some folks we have a couple of people annually who give us like $5,000 to do home repairs. If I could get a few volunteers, handy people, that $5,000 would buy lots of screens and light bulbs and doorknobs and maybe handrails in a bathroom and a number of things. Not major projects. We're not doing construction, but we'd love to be able to make sure somebody, again, with the idea of keeping folks in their home and improving the quality of their life. So we would, if you have an interest in something, we'd find something for you to do.
My 15-year-old son was thinking when I was talking to him that we're going to do Meals on Wheels. He looked at your website. Do you have something for teenage kids during summers?
We kind of struggle with, we want to do it and we continue to try to do that. What happens with kids is, because kids, it is their summer vacation, they're going to camp, they're doing a number of things, and they jump in and say, yep, I'm good this week, but I can't do this week, or this week. And then that's hard. That's a challenge for us to work around because, again, we don't have that luxury to kind of skip around that much. And it's almost harder to manage that. Now, and a lot of kids do ride with their parents. And that's a nice thing too. I think it's just if parents are making the delivery and a child is with them, to grab the meal out of the cooler, or the hot meal or the cool meal or cold part, and help with all of that stuff. It makes it funner and faster for folks to do that together. Great bonding experience for a parent and a child.
And not only that, David, I think it's a good, you teach by example. So if your parent is involved and, the kids learn, that it's good to do community service. So I think it's good to do it together.
Absolutely.
With your kids. So we covered your three legs, the big threes, the Meals on Wheels, your adult care centers, and then we talked about your transportation program. I know you have a lot of community partners. In fact, we have one of your partner, the Hope Village, the RCS. Their CEO was on a program about a few months back. We did a fundraiser, and I know that's a great program they run for the food pantry. And then Publix does good work with you. Anyone else stands out in your mind, which supports you year after year?
Well, I think one of the Publix is great, and Publix will, especially the one right here in Largo. The Publix there will give us, before things get old. They donate monetarily, but also when things are getting to be like 2 days before sell by dates, they might bring us 100 loaves of bread or 100 pastries that we'll then take to our seniors that want them. and to our volunteers. So it goes to use and not to waste. That's a great partnership. We have a fabulous partnership with St. Vincent de Paul's. St. Vincent de Paul's has a very innovative kind of a homeless veteran transition program where they came to us last year and asked us to provide the meals to them. So we were delivering a Meals on Wheels type of meals through our restaurant partners to veterans. And they would put a veteran up in a hotel. They would pay for that, but we would bring the meal to them because, again, the hotel didn't have cooking facilities. So that's a fabulous relationship with St. Vincent de Paul's, and we love doing that. We love working with the veterans. That's one of the great things. Pinellas County is a good partner. The county helps us. We have a good relationship with many of the county commissioners. They help us with a lot of things, from funding, which is always first and foremost. But they help us with some connections that they make for us sometimes, and we have to get into a city or get into somebody that they could maybe pull a string or two. That's a great partnership with us. And RCS is a great one. That's another good example with their food pantry that we work very closely with.
Yeah, I think everyone needs to chip in. It's a great cause, especially with 83,000 senior target. You guys alone can't do it. You got to have all hands on deck to make those 83,000 seniors. And I think more and more I see the insurance companies, the Medicare Advantage plans will be strong partners. I know there are already some, but you'll see that it's a win-win. If you can keep a senior at home safe, they will consume less healthcare dollars long run. They will be more healthier, and they will not go to emergency room because they, let's say, run out of food, or they fell or something, because they are not getting stimulation. So I think it's to their advantage that they keep the seniors strong at home. So I think,
and especially with the managed care programs, because that's their job, is to manage the cost.
Right.
And when somebody gets discharged for a hospital, if they're discharged to themselves at home alone, what are the chances of them following through on their medications, on their physical therapy maybe that they need to do, or their nutrition? And so, one of the things we say to them is, give us 2 weeks at a discharge, and we'll make sure for the first 2 weeks they get a meal every day. We'll make sure somebody's checking on them every day. We'll make sure their medication is being taken. We could do those things very cost effectively for them. And we're already there delivering the meals anyway in those neighborhoods. So it's not like it's common sense. But again, we don't always do what makes most sense. But
I think you will see more and more, because you can only squeeze out so much from a system. After that, you got to look at a big fundamental issue, which is loneliness.
Yep.
And as a society, we are very mobile. When we're young, it's good to be mobile, but when you are seniors, you can't do things which you could. You could go to grocery store and hang out with your friends in a bar or something. You can't do anymore. So that's when you need to bring the community to them, and that's where I think Meals on Wheels and adult care center and transportation is critical to have that happen.
Well, I think, I want people to realize what Neighborly is. Look for it. Look for our vans. Look for our dining sites. Again, when we know if there's 83,000 adults living alone, seniors living alone, and we're serving maybe 4,000 or 5,000 of them, that means there's 78,000 more that we're not getting to. And not that I could take all of them, but again, we have opportunities for folks, whether it's to receive our services or, again, their own volunteers sometimes benefit the most themselves from their volunteer experience because it gives them a purpose. It gives them something to do. And I think it's very important. And we hear from our volunteers how much it's rewarding to them. And I think it's, some of them call it even a bit of a ministry that they're providing, which is true. I think there's a bit of that that comes along with that.
Absolutely. I think you give something to somewhere to the community, it gets you back much more. It's like, having a relationship, a fruitful relationship, which is both ways, so it's so fulfilling, when you volunteer, as you said, it's a ministry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a beautiful gift if someone can give that to a senior to get a smile. Hey,
Yeah.
thank you.
And we've been here for 55 years, and with the population is getting older by the day, and as that happens, I think we're going to be here for another 55 years.